Good evening, everyone. There we go. All right. All right. Well, my name is Kyra Atterbury. I am the Executive Director of Need Indeed, and I want to welcome all of you to our third annual Educational Equity Forum. Woohoo! And I also want to give a shout out to everybody online. I know the cold might keep some folks at home, so we're glad that you're with us however you're with us. Thank you so much. So it truly means so much to see so many educators and community members, partners, and friends gathered together in one space. I'm really looking forward to an inspiring and thoughtful conversation with our incredible panelists. So before I begin, I want to take a moment to share a little bit about Need Indeed and why an event like this is so important to us. So for those who are new to our work, Need Indeed partners with 3rd through 8th grade Philadelphia public school teachers to support transformational teaching and learning. We do that by listening to students, supporting teachers, and engaging community partners. We help create classrooms where students' questions matter, where their lived experiences are welcomed, and where learning connects directly to the real issues shaping their lives. At the heart of our work is a simple but powerful belief. Every child deserves a high-quality education, no matter their zip code. And for us, a high-quality education isn't just about academics. It's about belonging, it's about voice, it's about relevance, it's about students being able to bring their whole selves to the classroom. Their identities, their families, their neighborhoods, their communities. Because when students bring their whole selves to the classroom, they also bring their wisdom. Which brings me to tonight's theme. So tonight's theme is embracing community wisdom. And that idea is central to everything we do. So in Need Indeed classrooms, students choose social issues they care about, whether it's gun violence, mental health, immigration, environmental justice, emotional justice too, or something else entirely. Then we connect them with community members, advocates, organizers, professionals, neighbors, who help deepen their understanding and show them that their voice matters. We believe that education should not happen in isolation, but it should happen in partnership with community. Because educational equity doesn't come from just one institution having all the answers. It comes from learning from one another across generations and across experiences. And that's exactly what tonight is about. I am so excited for you to hear from our panelists this evening. They are leaders who truly listen to, collaborate with, and uplift the communities they serve. So I'm going to have our panelists introduce themselves first, then I'll introduce our amazing moderator after that. Okay. So first of all, can we give our panelists and everybody a big round of applause? So I'd like to invite Dr. Pauline Cheung, Suzanne, Cilli, and Mekia Elizabeth to introduce yourselves. Take about 3 minutes and just introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad the mic is working very well. I'm Dr. Pauline Cheung. I like to just say Pauline, Principal Cheung, but I am a school district principal at Francis Scott Key Elementary School in the heart of South Philadelphia over at 8th and Wolf. I've been there for about 8.5 years now, going into my 9th year. Before that, I was a school district teacher, multilingual manager, ESOL teacher, and before that, I was a school district student. I proudly attended Philadelphia Public Schools as a child, and then I attended Temple University, Eastern University, and most recently was Cabrini University, that is no longer, and then Holy Family University for my doctorate. So I'm just really grounded in the Philadelphia community, in the educational ecosystem of Philadelphia. Besides that, I am a mother of 2 sons who are 13 and 17. These are fun ages right now to be at. I always say it's different. It's not easier, but it's just different. And I'm really, really still excited about what I do each and every day in my school community. It motivates me. It keeps me grounded in this work.
Hi everyone, I'm Suzanne Cilli. I am currently a 3rd grade teacher at the Albert M. Greenfield School. I've been teaching in Philadelphia for 2 decades. And I think what really brought me into education and started was my mom. She was one of those like effortless teachers that just made her classroom come alive. She taught 2nd grade. She was an artist by training. Her bulletin boards were made with hand-drawn images of anything that the kids were learning. She took the students' favorite books and she would turn them into these like smash hit plays that would be performed in front of the elementary school. And I didn't want to be a teacher. I was studying biology in college, and I was having a hard time with classes like organic chemistry, and I left college. I was sad. I didn't know what to do. I went home, and my mom encouraged me to enroll in education classes, and I did at St. Joseph's University, and became a teacher. And when I started out, I was not a great teacher. One of the things that my mom had was a very strong sense of self, and I did not. I was a white teacher with black students and students of the global majority, and I needed community. And there are people watching, and there are people in this room who made me who I am today. They were friends, colleagues that became friends and became mentors. I learned from them that it was not about the scripted curriculum in front of you. It was not about the perfect classroom decorations, but through centering student identities, through centering student voice, making space for having hard conversations about issues of social justice in the classroom. And a lot of them are also happen to be members of Need Indeed, as I am now too, and the Philadelphia Teachers Learning Cooperative, which are 2 organizations that have had a big impact on me, as well as Students Run Philly Style. I don't know if anyone runs or if anyone is part of that organization, but that has also had a huge impact on me as a teacher. It's a great equalizer when you're running with middle schoolers and you have 3 miles left to go. You realize the only way is through it together, and it doesn't matter if you're a teacher or a student.
Hi, my name is Mekia Elizabeth, and I am a community organizer, a educator, nature educator, and a placemaker. I am one of the stewards of Harmony Hill, which is our park village community that we affectionately call the more beautiful neighborhood our hearts know is possible, from a Charles Eisenstein book that we had a book club about and we really loved. So I help lead 3 community life initiatives, Park Life through our Friends of Fernhill Park, which, fun facts about Fernhill Park, it's the 2nd largest neighborhood park in Philadelphia. It's about 50 acres. We have neighbors on 3 sides. It's a really beautiful space. It was the former McKean estate. And we have a 5-acre food forest, so that was started by neighbors. It's run by neighbors, all volunteers, and we're growing apples, peaches, pluots, blueberries, all sorts of things together. Many of us, including myself, are first-time growers. So it's just been a really fun experience learning to grow different things in the park. In addition to park life, we have club life. And so we have a community clubhouse where we have year-round youth leadership development programming through our after-school club and our summer camp. We have about 40 kids in the program and 12 volunteers. Again, the program is a gift from neighbors to neighbors. It runs 3 days a week. Even the space is a gift. We are housed on New Hope Temple Baptist campus. The pastor's a neighbor who offered us free access to the space, and so we've been there for the last 3 years. And there are many clubs in addition to after school and summer camp. We have a sewing club, a crochet club, a bike club, a book club, all of these skills being shared by neighbors to neighbors. And then we have a community cafe, which was our porch in one season. But after COVID, our teenage daughters started baking lots of goods. We shared them with the neighbors after we'd gained about 15 pounds eating them ourselves. And we were kind of meeting on the porch, and we were like, we should put a kitchen out here. And the neighbor was like, I can do the plumbing. And the neighbor was like, I can do the electricity. And the neighbor was like, I can do this, and I can do that. And it seemed really like, not like it didn't seem like it could happen, but then it did. And so our community cafe is a pay-what-you-wish cafe. The barista is a neighbor. The servers are our neighborhood children. And it's a place where the community comes together for connection, for care, for neighborhood news, and also for good treats and good eats.
Incredible. Okay, I'm all right. I'm really excited. Okay, so before I introduce our incredible moderator and we get into our conversation, I would like for you all to have some discussion with each other. So I'm going to have you turn to someone. Maybe it's someone that you don't know. Maybe you meet someone tonight. Introduce yourself, share where you're from, and I want you to talk about this question. What are some strengths your community or neighborhood has that you love to share with others? So what are some strengths that your community or neighborhood has that you love to share with others? So for those joining the live stream, feel free to reflect by yourselves or talk with people in your house or your room, and we'll come back together at around 7:30. Okay. everyone. We're going to come back together. And live stream folks, I know we're a little early, sorry. All right, so let me get a few shout outs. What are some things you love about your community? Yell them out for me. Community gardens, yes. Yes. What else? Family oriented. Love that. Other things? Diversity. Neighbors know each other. Yes. Strong senior population. Yep. I'm going to chime in with collective snow removal, because that happened in my neighborhood, which was wonderful. Yeah. So thank you so much for doing that. I hope you were able to meet someone and maybe had a meaningful conversation. So now it is my honor to introduce our incredible moderator. Kendra Brooks is the minority leader of Philadelphia City Council. She is a council member at large from North Philadelphia and the first Working Families Party member ever elected to City Council. She has a background in organizing for social movements, public school advocacy, gun violence prevention, and restorative justice, all of which inform her priorities as an elected official. Some of her recent accomplishments include the POWER Act, which grants new rights and protections to low-wage workers, the nationally acclaimed Eviction Diversion Program, and the end of for-profit evictions in Philadelphia. The Reproductive Freedom Task Force and historic funding for reproductive health care providers, expanding mobile crisis teams for mental and behavioral health, and protecting neighborhood-led community gardens. So, thank you so much for being here, Councilmember Brooks, and take it away, everyone. I'm excited.
Gio, can you guys hear me? Oh, great. Okay. So I'm going to start with the questions. First, I want to say I'm so excited to be up here with you guys while you were talking. I kind of pulled together our connection. So Temple Eastern with you. My sister's a third grade teacher. I'm a community organizer, and I'm so excited about the work you spoke of at Fern Hill Park, and I want to come and visit. So my staff is in the background. They know that I mean that. So our opening question is, what does community wisdom mean to you? And how have you tapped community wisdom as a source of strength in your ongoing work? And we'd love to hear a story about this. Pauline, you start.
Community wisdom is truly the center of what we do at Key School in our school community. When I first entered the school community, you have to rely on the stories and the people of that community in the school and around the school and the community-based organizations around the school to truly get to know the school, to build connections, and number one, to build trust. So what I did when I first got there was really listen to the teachers and staff already in the building, but more importantly, I really honed in on my story of my mother immigrated over here from China, from Hong Kong, and she didn't have anything more than a 5th grade education. She had to drop out of school when she was in Hong Kong to take care of her siblings, and then she came over here. So when I was growing up and I went to Conley Elementary in the far northeast, and having my mother's voice being a part of the school was not the norm. She did not feel she belonged in the school. She did not have the language to be part of the school community. And when that happens, her identity was not valued in the school community. And she felt that that's not a place for her to be in. So her engagement in the school was sending us to school, making sure we went to school every day, that we were present, that she could give us the best that she felt she could give us to be prepared for school, but not stepping into the school. So it was so important to me when I became principal, and also when I was a teacher as well, is to invite families into the school, invite the elders into the school, because I also grew up thinking that my mother's wisdom And also my elders' wisdom was not something I needed to tap into. And it was just simply because I didn't know. I didn't know how valuable all their journeys just coming over to the new country and their lived experiences was so important. And I came to learn of that because they have so much knowledge and our families have so much knowledge. Knowing the dominant language of English is not a requirement, it's not a necessity. You can still learn about the oral histories of families just by inviting them to come in and telling them, I want to know your story. I want to know about your lived experiences. So we started, I had a group of teachers who began a community stories project. Some of them are still with me now at Key School. And it was just inviting families in to orally share their histories in any which way they were comfortable to share it, in their native language. It would be recorded. Their children would draw about their lived experiences with their families. And then we would share it. Some of it is still on our Key School webpage, so you can go onto our webpage and read about those stories. And just by inviting them to come in, it built such a strong sense of trust and connection. So a lot of this is really built on my own experiences and understanding that I had the wisdom right in front of me all along. And I wasn't able to see that because I think the institutions around me didn't seek out to want to know me or my family because my mother could not communicate with the school. So one of the things that I really pride myself and my staff at the school on doing is making sure that we connect with all families. There should be no reason that an elder should not be able to come and participate and plan an event with the school. There should be no reason that any family member cannot come into the school and join a parent learning opportunity. I have bilingual counseling assistants who also have a lot of community wisdom to share. And they might not have a large role in a school, but in my school, they are very important. They might be at my school once a week, but I tap into everything they know because they know a lot about the families that they have been serving, not just in my community, but in different school communities in the city. So that is my story. That's one of my stories. I have a lot of stories, but just something that we do at Key School that I'm really happy about, and I want to continue to do the work. I never think that we reach a pinnacle of like, we've done it, we've reached it. We've connected with everyone and we've built trust with everyone. It's always ongoing. You have to be truly intentional and reflective about the work you do around that.
Thank you so much, Pauline. And I still have artwork from your children at Key. I was just saying that. I went there. I'm going to have to whip it out and just show it. It's amazing. So thank you for your contribution. Suzanne, as a teacher, how has including community wisdom in your classroom changed students' approach to learning? Feel free to talk about or refer and draw from Dr. Imoradino Yang's podcast.
It's going to be, thank you, Pauline, for sharing. It's a beautiful story. It's going to be hard to follow some of you all. I wanted to speak a little bit about my classroom right now. We have a class motto, which is "We build knowledge together," and I have a story behind it that I feel like is relevant and is important. I've been teaching for 2 decades, but recently moved to a new school, and I had been teaching literacy. I had not taught math for a really long time, and I was faced with a new math curriculum, and I was at a new school, and I was panicking. And there was a consultant at the school whose name was Noah, who really wasn't there to help a struggling teacher, but I just asked him for help. And he came to observe me, and I was embarrassed because I've been teaching for a long time, but he came once a week to tell me what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. And the first time we sat down together to talk about my teaching, he said, I have homework for you. I want you to come up with a mantra. And it became, first thing that came to mind was "We build knowledge together," and it's become my class motto. And the reason that I say this is because when I think about community wisdom, as a teacher, for me, it means always being vulnerable. I think that there is this idea of a teacher, this person who has it all figured out, who has like complete control of the classroom and knows everything that they're doing. But really, we're just in there with the students, like mucking it up together, figuring it out. I think everyone who enters a learning space brings collective and ancestral knowledge that shapes how we see ourselves and each other. And as teachers, we have to remember that. All of the stories, like Pauline was saying, that are coming from their students and their parents and teachers and colleagues are so important. And building knowledge together means recognizing and honoring these perspectives as part of the learning process. And as teachers, we have to stay in that learning process. It's really important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. We build knowledge together. That's an amazing slogan to carry. So Kia, tell me more about Harmony Hill and the philosophy behind it, and how does it support both young people and adults?
So Harmony Hill was, like I said, the more beautiful world. It was just a concept, like how can we make our neighborhood a better place, a higher quality of living. I live in my childhood home, so I know all the neighbors and they know me well. So I'm the co-captain. I'm the block captain on my block, and my co-captain was my mom's best friend.
Okay.
And so when I would sneak out, she would call my mom and tell me. And she's, you know, we all have that neighbor who lives in the window. Mm-hmm. And so she knows everything. She's the best block captain because she knows everything that's going on the block. So I had to forgive her for telling on me as a teenager. And I'm just so grateful to have someone who's so vigilant and who cares so deeply about the people in her community. And during COVID, we just kind of had this sort of reckoning where we were, you know, originally when we inherited the house, we were like, okay, let's fix it up and move somewhere nice. Not knowing what nice meant, but we have twins. They were in, you know, they went to Henry at the time, and we were concerned about where they would go to high school. And I'm like, I don't want to look at King, and And we thought if we moved to a different place, they'd have a better education. Then when COVID happened and we didn't have to go to work all the time, and we started to hang out in the park, and we started to meet our neighbors, I was like, oh my God, I love this place. And I realized that our neighbors aren't just our friends who are now like family, but they're our teachers. I learned how to grow food with my neighbors. I learned how to make coffee with my neighbors. I learned how to resolve conflict with my neighbors. And we just started to think about what a more connected community could look like. So we believe in harmony with ourselves, with each other, and with nature. And that high quality life is defined by belonging, by relationship, by contribution, and that people need a chance to share their gift, to be encouraged to have a space to share their gift, but also relationship unlocks gifts. So people who didn't even know they had a gift, but just us being together, it was like, oh, this is a gift, this is a gift. And we say that Harmony Hill is a gift economy because it's powered by gift. And so we're advocates for intergenerational living across our park life, our club life, and our community cafe life. So our cafe is our barista, like I said, are the neighborhood children. One's a college student, and the servers are children from the block. And they make deliveries, so they take treats and they take drinks to the neighbors with mobility issues. They pick up litter on the block. They water the plants. They cut the grass. They make art for the block, so the block is just a more beautiful experience. At the club, we have volunteers who, like I said, they come and cook for the children. They come and clean up the clubhouse for the children, organize the things. They bring stickers. The children make them Valentine's gifts. And we have open houses so that they can come and show what they've been learning. We show up for them at their school when there's a winter show at Kelly, or when there's, event back to school night at Mastery. And so they feel seen, heard, and cared for, not just by their parents, but by the community at large. And then park life is really the fullest expression of our intergenerational learning and just what it means to be a connected community. We have year-round events, but we have, last year, in the years past, we've had an event called Fun Friday, which is a monthly event where it is completely produced by the children in the neighborhood. So the teenagers are the ones hauling the dance floor and the stage and all of the things to the park, tables and chairs, and they run the concession stands, and many of them are children who once neighbors thought of them as bad kids and troubled kids. Some of them were on house arrest. I mean, all of them have stories, but now they're the ones that when it snows, they call to shovel. When they need help carrying groceries. And so we really work together with each other. And there's such a sense of pride in the young people. There's such a sense of pride even in the older people who now see these young people as a part of themselves, an extension of themselves, and not just nuisance neighbors.
Thank you so much for sharing your story of a more beautiful world. In the spirit of community, I would be remiss not to recognize my colleagues in representation here from Anthony Phillips' office, and the district state representative is here in the office. Andre Carroll is here to support. His office is right up the street, so I just want to recognize that he's here in community with us. So Suzanne and Pauline, have you noticed any significant shift or changes since, including community members in your approach, and how have parents and families responded?
Yes, there's been a big shift, and it's always evolving. So I want to start off by saying that. It's always evolving, and you adjust to the shifts that come along. But there definitely has been shifts because, to me, I always reflect on what do I want this school to be? Do I just want the school where students are coming, they come to school and they leave? Or do I want this school to be the center of their neighborhood? This is a community school. So I like to say that Key is a community school without the actual city designation. And what's so important is that they can come into school, students and families alike, for anything they need. And that is something that we are always pushing towards. And we have reached a lot of that through connections with community organizations, getting to know our community partners in the community, and how do we build sustainable partnerships. Also, what other spaces in the schools do our families need and our students need, where they can come in and enjoy enrichment. Besides enrichment, also our school library. So when I first came to Key, we did have a library that was operating, and the books were very outdated, very, very outdated, but I was glad to at least have that library, and I could build off of that. My vision for that at that time, this was about 7 years ago, was that, the closest library to Key School, we're at 8th and Wolf, would be 2nd and Snyder, the Whitman branch, and then the South Philly branch on Broad, and that's about, I would say, give and take, 25-minute walk, right? But what can I provide right here in the center for families? And through grants and vision, and keep pushing through that vision, we were able to upgrade our library space about 3 years ago. Also build a library that was reflective of the community and the students that we serve and the languages that we serve as much as possible, and we continue to build on that. And then to have our Saturdays at Key program. That was one big thing that I had envisioned, was that one Saturday a month. I envisioned 4 Saturdays a month, but we're going to start small, okay? So this is my second year with Saturdays at Key program, and I have a dedicated staff, and they rotate and they come in to Saturdays at Key once a month. And it's not just come in and enjoy the library, but yes, you can come in and just enjoy the library. You can play games. There's translation services, so families need translation services, and I make sure that I have staff there that would be able to support with translation services. If they are not able to give it themselves, they will find a way to support the family in getting that. If families need to make copies for a job application, or they need to use, or for anything, they might need to use a copying machine, they can come in at that time to do it. They can use our Chromebook and technology to do what they need to do. And their children can also, while they're doing that, their children can be reading, they can also be enjoying a game. We also partner with the Free Library Philadelphia, so some Saturdays a month they will come in and do a reading with families, with students. And we've also partnered with other community organizations like Puentes de Salud to support our families with the ongoing crisis with immigration right now, so that they can feel supported as well. So anything that was the vision that I had, and to actually see it happen and to see how this one example can shift the dynamics of the community and what they see your school to be. It's not just a school that I'm sending my child to, but it's also a place where I can build community with other families, with families that I may not share the same language with, where we can come in for community potlucks. That's something we started most recently with our celebrations committee, where they really wanted to build a community event where it's low stakes. You come in, you want to bring food that you enjoy, and you can bring it in and share it and break bread with other family members and staff members. And that is something that we need so desperately right now at this time, just to be in community with each other. So I know that's the two. I have a lot more, but I'm going to pass it on.
Thank you. I wanted there was a couple other points I wanted to share for Kendra's first question about community wisdom and students' approach to learning that I didn't get to say that I thought are important from the teacher perspective. As a teacher, and Pauline knows as a principal, that public schools and a lot of schools operate on like a deficit-based model. And what I've realized, the question was, how has it changed my approach to students' learning? As a teacher, I quickly learned that if you focus solely on deficits, that you can't center the student, and the student becomes centered as the problem instead of the institution and the systemic issues that are there. And when we take that approach, we risk overlooking our students' strengths, which can be the places where we can find what they need to support their areas of growth. And also, I just wanted to mention that, student engagement through choice is so important. Students are the most engaged when they can choose how they learn, what they learn, and how they show their learning. And then to the current question of inviting community members into the classroom, as Pauline said, like a resounding yes. I wish that I had done it sooner. I think in my early years of teaching, I was afraid to invite people into the classroom. There was a perfectionism there. I wasn't good enough, or they could see my faults as a teacher. And I did have things like writing celebrations and things like that. But through Need and Deed and through the years, I've learned to invite people into the classroom. I have a spreadsheet that goes out every month with my class schedule, and parents and community members know that they can show up and teach math centers on a Tuesday, and that's great. I've invited friends into the classroom. I recently had my friend Tracy, who wrote a book about her experience with addiction called Pretty Wrecked, that came because my students are thinking for their Need and Deed social issue they're deciding between homelessness and addiction, and she came and spoke to the kids. One of our students' beloved custodial assistants, Mr. Kevin, came to talk to the students about a time in his life when he experienced homelessness, and the kids see him every day and they love him, and he talks sports with all of the boys, but they didn't know that this part of his story and how important it was. 2 years ago, when my students, their social issue they chose was discrimination, my Need and Deed person, Helena, was like talking to me about community partners, and I said, I really want, instead of partners just in Philadelphia, I want partners that are closely related to my students. So I put the word out to teachers and other staff members at our school and said, would you be comfortable coming to speak to the class about your experience with discrimination? And I had so many wonderful speakers. I had a dad come talk about his experience as an emerging bilingual in academic spaces. I had a teacher come share moments in high school when he was called racial slurs. I had a parent who is transgender talk about combating bias as a child on the soccer field. And just these stories were incredible. I guess I wish that I had started sooner.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing. Kia, what do young people you work with share about themselves as learners that can inform us about how to better support them as students and whole people?
I loved what you just said about essentially being co-creators in the classroom. And I would say that's pretty much what I hear across the board from the children, is that they want more autonomy in what they learn, how they learn it, when they learn it, and they don't, just like we don't want to be talked to, we want to experience each other. They want to be a part of shaping their future. And so, some of the high school kids, I don't want to wait till college to pick what classes I go to, and why should I have to wait? And if you've ever been around little kids, they're very opinionated. They have a sense of what they want to do and where they want to go. And I think that it's important that we create spaces where that curiosity, that ingenuity can be honored. And so in our after-school club, in our summer camp, in even our community cafe, our park events, we really listen and care. So we try to listen to what the kids want to do and make space for it. So when they say, Miss Kia, I want to crochet something, we say, which neighbor knows how to crochet? And when they say, Miss Kia, I want to, they have a long list. They did an art exhibit at the Woodmere Museum this year from a neighbor who is a longtime professional artist, Mindy Flexer, who offered tuition-free access for a group of 12 kids, waived the tuition. We took the kids over there with another neighbor, and she took them to the Wissahickon Park. That was our first field trip. We didn't know if we could take the kids out the neighborhood just yet. It went really well. And every week she would come to the club and work on this exhibit that was then featured at the Woodmere from September to November. And then we did another trip. Neighbors volunteered to drive the kids up, and we went to the Woodmere to see the exhibit and to talk about them as artists. And so that idea came from a kid who was like, Miss Kia, I want to paint something. Or Miss Kia, I want to do this. Or Miss Kia, I want to do that. So I'm kind of like the team magician where but in listening to them, I never had to tell them, sit down, go back to your seat, do this, do that. They are so engaged. I have to, Miss Kia, can we come back? No, it's time to leave, y'all. So, but if you listen to them, then they will be engaged and they will participate.
Miss Kia, I want to crochet.
Tuesdays.
So the next two questions are open to anyone. What originally led or inspired you to embrace this kind of community-focused approach?
What led me was my families, myself, in terms of what I yearned for in a school community when I was younger, what a school community that wasn't there for my own mother. So I really want to think about, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect the same results. I could have went to Key School and just continued to do the same thing, and it could be very surface level in getting to know families, in trying to increase parental engagement, and what our surface level understanding of parent engagement is, and sometimes continues to be. But I always ask myself, what did the school know about me? And what did the school know about my family when I was growing up? And it was not much. And so my goal continues to be, what do I need to know about all my families? And I like to reframe it from, well, they don't speak English, so we're going to have to reframe that to, we don't speak their language, because at Key School I have 70% multilingual learners. They are the majority of the school. So it's no longer that they have to adapt to what we do in the systems that have been created here. We need to adapt to what they know. We have to take an assets-based approach, just like you say. The languages that they come into the building with, the lived experiences that they come into the buildings with, we have to tap into that. Because until you tap into that and you want to get to know who they are, they will not show you all the gems that they're hiding inside. Because if you don't tap into it, they're just not going to share it. And when they share it, it's a beautiful thing. That really has motivated me to continue to do this work and to continue to build on it, because it will always continually evolve. So now how do we tap on each other with what's going on right now out there, for which Key is at the center of, and many schools are, many of our families are experiencing real fears, real challenges. So how do we tap into our community at this one of the most difficult times to understand how we can support families? And it's not just that, hey, sometimes we don't always have to be there to give them, like, just them knowing that you are here to give support, just them knowing that they can come into your school building, and that's one place they can breathe a sigh of relief, and they just can let down their guard, and there's a staff member that they can go to. It doesn't always have to be me. There's so many staff members that different families have connections and trust with. So just being there and being that and having that community in the building, sometimes that's all they need. But then also making sure that we do have other needs that we can support families with, and they know that. So that's why, that really continues to motivate me to do the work that we need to do, and to continue to find ways to evolve with the ever-changing climate of our country and in our city as well.
Hard question, but an honest answer. I think what led me to this work was being a white teacher in predominantly black classrooms. I think I learned really quickly that my education degree did not matter. I learned really quickly that my good intentions did not matter. I really had to be accepted by my students. I needed to show deep care by listening and learning to them. I had to seek feedback and help from teachers around me. And I had to become courageous enough to surround myself with not just educators that could support me, but educators that could really challenge me. I have a story here, a moment. Years ago, I was trying to do a classroom library audit. I was looking to make my classroom library, like Pauline had said, to be more representative of the students in my classroom. And I was talking about it, and a colleague I didn't know that well came in. She heard me like hemming and hawing about everything, and she just looked at me and she's like, "You have a lot of white guilt, and I want you to come to my library and look at what a real classroom library looks like." And I think in my first year of teaching, I would have been like, but I needed to hear that. And she brought me to her library, and she said, "This is what a good library looks like, and you're going to model your library after mine." And she's become not only a mentor, but also like a good friend. I think in this work, I've said this before tonight, but we have to be vulnerable, and we have to surround ourselves with, people that challenge us.
Unless you want to move on to the next one.
As I said before, I live in my childhood home. I didn't necessarily see myself as a community organizer. It kind of just happened to me. I'm still adjusting. So, but I think that in my ambition to move away, and when I was thinking that we would move, I was researching other communities and thinking about what I would like to have in a community. And then after COVID happened and I met all of the neighbors and all the different skills, I was like, oh, we're what we're waiting for. We could have that here. We just have to try. And it was just modest things like sharing zucchini bread that someone made with the zucchini from and actually my first zucchini bread was from a kid who was volunteering in the food forest. And she was like, my gram taught me this. And I realized that, we can do this together, and that those neighborhoods had people who cared and tried, and we can do the same thing. So,
Thank you for that. This next question, because we are getting close to time, this is an everyone question. And I'm going to ask that you name an ancestor or an elder that had a particular impact on you or your approach, and what wisdom have you drawn for them in like 5 words?
I'm going to go back to, personally, my mother, because I learned from her that you have to be able to, I learned resilience from her, I must say that. There's no, but I learned the strength and resilience that she had all along, and I learned to appreciate how she dealt with life challenges that I didn't understand when I was younger. And that was also because I'm considered an American-born Chinese. I was born here, and she was not. So there was definitely a major cultural divide in our household as we were going to American schools. She spoke Cantonese at home. I do speak Cantonese, but it was not as fluent. Me and my siblings were not as fluent as her. So just the traditions that she carried and still held so strongly to was something that she wanted us to hold strongly to. But at that time, when you are not so sure of your identity and you're trying to assimilate to the mainstream culture, you're trying to reject that because you want to be accepted. So it takes a lot of going through life, finding out who you are, being around good people, good programs, good structures, and experiences to now cherish what I would say, I cherish what my mother was doing. And that's something that I learned a lot from, because now when I go into a school community and when I went into Key School, I was able to honor that. Not only honor the family's traditions and their cultural values, but bring so much light to it that students want to be, they want to be part of their own cultural traditions. They want to share it. They want to proudly share it, because that's not something I wanted to do when I was younger. I wanted to hide it so much because I was so worried about what people would think. And then when I did share it, I could remember how I felt, when it wasn't appreciated by my peers at that time. So that really helped me become the leader I am now, because that's something that we highlight at Key is the holidays and traditions are just one facet, and we can keep going deeper down into the iceberg. But that's a start. And then once you start there, you can get deeper, and you can uncover a lot more, but it takes time. So there you go.
I'm also going to say my mom. She told me one time in the beginning of teaching, she called me Suze. She's like, Suze, sometimes you just have to have a one-room schoolhouse approach. Sometimes you just have to close the door and do what's right by your students. And that is something that has stuck with me for a really long time. I remember my mom in her final years of teaching, her school started adopting more like scripted curriculums, and she was so frustrated. My mom had always designed her own curriculum and her own like units of study, and I remember going into her classroom and I think that was when she decided to retire. She said, this is not what's best for our students. I think Paulo Freire, I think a lot of my work has been inspired by him. He said everyone in a learning space is simultaneously a teacher and a student. I think about that a lot. And there's a lot of others, but I know we're short on time. Yeah.
I just think about my heritage as I come from a people who didn't have much, and these are creative women, and so I took that. I learned from them that problems are opportunities, and that it takes what it takes, and that it's hard, and that's okay, and that your best is enough, and that if you, and that it takes a team, it takes a village. And so if there's not something that, if it's something that you can't do, it's because someone else is supposed to do it. And so embracing community wisdom, asking for help, inviting others into the process has really just been foundational for how I stay in the game.
Suzanne, what advice would you give other teachers about seeking out community wisdom as part of their curriculum and or classroom culture?
I think if you're teaching in Philly, in the school district, you're probably going to be given a curriculum. And if you can't change the curriculum, you have to think about how can I tweak it so students can see themselves in it. You have to make it relevant to their lives while also like teaching the standards. Obviously, that's important. But you have to begin this work with identity work and continue the work throughout the year. I like how you spoke about the iceberg. That throughout the year with our students, we're continually learning about them and their families. Also, while you build classroom community. I've learned recently in some classes that I'm taking of this idea of curriculum bypassing. So it's constructing, repurposing, and tinkering with instructional materials to make it right for your students. And what I found is really taking everything that you've learned over the years of teaching and making it, it's called principled practice, just making it your own. Like you were just saying, collaboration. You really have to seek like-minded educators in your building, and if you can't, find them. Fortunately, in Philadelphia, we have amazing organizations like the Philadelphia Teachers Learning Cooperative, the Philadelphia Writing Project, Need Indeed, and find them there. Invite people into your classroom to teach. I think engaging with older students, I was thinking what you were saying about the kids that were seen as bad, like there's this word like third space, and you have created that, and especially for our older students in Philadelphia, like a place like Students Run Philly or Friday Night Rights is another really cool organization through Penn where I feel like for older students, like a space outside of school really shows you who they are. And then, years ago I was trained with a method which some of you know called responsive classroom, and I use these practices every day in my classroom. They make such a difference. Morning meeting is a non-negotiable in my classroom unless there's something else happening. I do it every morning. Academic choice time is really important. We have weekly class meetings every Friday. We talk about what's going on, like what do we need to work on, and the students use their voice to share what they think they need to do to fix it. But yeah, I think just overall just seeking out like-minded educators and developing systems and procedures in your classroom where students have voice and maintaining them. Not doing it one day and then forgetting about it, but every day and every week there's a space for students to make their voices heard.
Kia, what advice would you give those who want to create an initiative to benefit young people in their neighborhood?
I would say start with relationship and build programming from there. because there are a lot of really good programs in Philadelphia, but like I was at Mastery and there were just a heap of things on the table that the kids could take home. And I was there to see the dean for one of our our kids. And I asked the boys about the programs and they were like, oh, I never heard of any of those. And the table was full of resources. And so I go down the list and what about this one? And what about this one? They're like, I don't even know if those programs are real. And I was like, oh, okay. So I would just say start with belonging and include the kids in the programming. So that way they want to be a part of it and they, like everything we do, we build together. So our kids club is very much, the kids are the ones driving it. They pick what designs we do for the gardens and all of the things. So that's what keeps them excited and engaged is that they are co-leaders in the program.
Thank you. And Pauline, what advice would you give other school district of Philadelphia principals about seeking out community wisdom as part of the school culture, and how have you had a chance to get creative?
My advice to other school leaders would be roll up your sleeves. There's a lot of hard work in this. I don't know if I would call it creativity. I was actually thinking about this question earlier because if you have a strong will to want to improve the culture of your school, you're going to find a way to connect with your community. You're going to invite families in. So what I always talk about is sustainability. So if there's one key action is you think about sustainability and getting to know your community, taking that time, because it's not a quick fix. It's not a fix. I would like to reframe that as it's the culture and the climate that you're building, and you're always continually building those building blocks to it. So first, take the time to listen, get to know the community, go out there, find out who are the community organizations, find out who are the people who've been in the community. And after you do that, then you think about, you create a vision for what you want your school to be in your community, who you need to help you to get there. And it's gonna be beyond the traditional folks that we think of, school staff or someone else that might be in the central office that you might think is someone in the central office, or it might be someone else here, but that person could be standing in front of you, picking up their grandchild every day, not speaking your language, and you see that person every day, and it could have been just grandpa over there, who could tell you something or who could share something. And then that leads to someone else. Now I have just pockets of elders who come to our bilingual counseling assistants have welcome wagon luncheons. We're going to be doing our Khmer, Laos, Burmese New Year very soon, and they come together, our elders, and I really appreciate everything they bring into our building and their knowledge that they bring in. So I just say it's a long journey, but keep working at it and think of something that's sustainable, that is always going to be with you over time, instead of something that might sound really good to help you build parent engagement, but you can't sustain it over time.
Okay, this is an everyone question. In the face of school closures or mergers, what are core community and school considerations that need to be kept in mind? Wait, let me just combine these for the sake of time. And then, at the end of that, what brings you joy? And what keeps you grounded as you do the work? So I'm going to do joy and pain. That's what we're doing all in one.
I thought a lot about this question. I think schools are just key social institutions in our neighborhoods. They're central to every neighborhood social structure. And removing a school just negatively affects the overall health of a community. The district has a responsibility. It's going to cause harm, but the district has a responsibility to minimize harm. and they have to incorporate community feedback. And the stakeholders are the parents, the teachers, the principals, the students. I should have said students first, excuse me. They need to listen to them. My joy, I would say it starts with my family, my partner, John Marco. I have two beautiful daughters, Lucia and Talia. They make me want to be a better human every day. My students, if you are feeling not a lot of hope right now, get your volunteer clearances and get into Philly schools. You will very quickly find hope. Young people have always been incredible, but they're even more incredible now. Also, I'm fortunate I'm getting my reading specialist certification right now, and I'm back in the classroom as a learning, and I'm with a lot of people that are younger than me who are getting their masters, and the next generation of teachers are amazing. They give me so much hope. They're so creative. They are so innovative. They're ready to change the system. They're giving me a lot of hope. And I have to start with go back to where I started, which is my colleagues. I've been teaching for 2 decades, and some of them are here, some of them are listening. They have made me who I am today. Community wisdom means, I know my mom said close the door sometimes, but open your door, get into other teachers' classrooms, watch them teach, ask them for help, let them challenge you. It'll make all the difference in the world.
In response to school closures or the proposal in repurposing some of the buildings, and just like I shared how integral Key School is to the community where we are, that is just like what you said, they're social institutions of the community, not just a school that parents are sending their children to go to school and get off. They're just places of learning, places of families getting together. And I hope that a lot of community members where there's proposals where their school buildings are going to get affected, that more come out to advocate and really share what the school and the institution means to them in their community. I just know that just for me and where we are at Key School, to get a real well-rounded feedback from families would take a real concentrated effort, because we have over 30 languages in our community alone, over 30. I know it's much more than that, but just in my school, it's 25 to 30, could be more, because in many countries, even though it's one country, there could be 25 languages, it's different writing systems. So I just want to make sure that everyone's voices are heard, everyone's voice is heard, is documented. They're out in these spaces, especially the elders too, because sometimes we kind of get into a feeling of helplessness where we just think, well, it's going to happen, so there's really not much we can do about it. But just hearing all of our stories today and how all this collaboration, collective effort leads to transformational change. So that's my hope for this next step in regards to that proposal, because we're so much more than just a school in a community. And then something for joy and what gives me hope, once a week I do have a luncheon. Like I buy pizza for some of, I have a group of students who their fathers are detained, or they're no longer here. And I want them to be in school, but and there was a moment in time where some of them were coming and some weren't, and this is where we found out. We talked to community members and we found out what was happening. And I was like, so every Friday I have a lunch bunch with them. I buy them pizza. They look forward to it. And when they come together, these group of students, about 5 of them, and they can invite like 1 or 2 friends, they talk a lot about what's happening with each other. They talk about reuniting with their fathers at some point. And there's one child, and his name's Sammy, and he gives me so much hope, because every time I have lunch with him. He goes, Dr. Cheung, I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? And I go, give me the bad news. And he's like, well, we used all our money to help, my mom told me we used all our money to help my dad come out really soon. But that's, and we don't have money for groceries as much. But, my dad, we don't have money to buy clothes and the groceries as much because we had to use the money. I'm like, okay, Sammy, I know that's really tough. And you know that, I'm going to make sure when we have our next grocery distribution that, we're going to bring a bag of groceries to your mom like we did before. And he goes, but the good news is, he's going to finally get to come home. So I say that because his mom is giving him that hope, to have him have something to look forward to. And that is something that I really lean into because I can either go, if you think about it, you might go, oh, that sounds like too bad news, right? Right? But to him, that's hope. That's hope for something. And it keeps him coming to school and it keeps him hopeful for one day reuniting with his father.
You ladies so eloquently talked about how important schools are as social institutions. So what they said, and as far as what brings me joy in this season is same, just being in our community. I love being in our community. There was a snowstorm. We're still digging out, but in our community, it translated into a group chat. Who's bringing the hot chocolate? Who's bringing the sleds? Where's the fire captain for the pavilion fireplace at the park? And it snows and all the neighbors come to the pavilion and they bring extra gloves for the kids who they know won't have them. And they bring extra sleds for the kids they know won't have them. And there's hot chocolate and there's s'mores. And you can just come to the park and go sledding, whether you have gloves, whether you have, someone showed up with a Tupperware bin, pulling their child on a string, like a rope, which I thought, yes, queen, get it done. But it was like, do you want to try my sled? Like, yes, great time. And so it's not just you're going to the park and sledding individually, but that you are being greeted and engaged as a community. I love coming to the club because we have this beautiful garden that we update every season, and the neighbors text me and say, oh, I just love what you're doing with the garden, what's next? And so the kids are really excited, like, Miss Kia, can we make this and can we make that? And so for them to have a place of belonging and for us as volunteers to be able to give that to them. There's also children their families are split up. So this might be the only time they see their siblings is when they come to club, because they're in different schools, because some are in elementary and some are in middle school and some are with the dad and some are with the mom. And so to come to a place where not only are you going to connect with neighbors, you're going to see your sister, who you might not see again until the next club. And so to be able to, all of this these are love gifts. Like this isn't funded by money. It's funded by, money's involved, but this is the gift from neighbors. So just to be a part of a community that loves so hard, to be when I go when it snows, to be able to see the white pines in the park and to be able to have a fireplace in our park and to have a real fire and it's like the Poconos. But also that our neighbor texted and said, hey, are the boys around? And the boys were so excited to go and shovel everyone out and get Go Puff afterwards. And I'm just so grateful that even in the face of hardship, community is a buffer and it's a good time, even when it's a hard time.
Thank you. I just want to thank each and every one of you for love gifts, community, hope and joy, and just being willing to be connectors in your own spaces. And we want to definitely say thanks to Need and Indeed for the work that you do to bring educators, organizers, and administrators together along with families and students to bring joy and hope into our communities. And I am so happy to be a part of this beloved community. And I just want you guys to give our panelists some love and some, by clapping your hands. I think they've done an amazing job. And now I think we're going to get some thank yous and closing out.
All right, I have to, I wrote a few things down. The journeys of our families is so important. The wisdom was right in front of me all along. Teaching is about vulnerability. Our neighbors are our teachers. Relationship unlocks gifts. We want to experience each other. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting the same results. In the face of hardship, community is a buffer. I was going to end with a corny quote, and I'm like, I don't need that. This is perfect. So this conversation is what brings me joy this evening. Real change happens when we listen to each other, as our amazing panelists have said, and when we show up for each other. So I just want to thank you again for your wisdom, for your leadership, and for sharing with us tonight. Can we just give one more round of applause to them? It's incredible. I want to thank Councilmember Brooks once again. Thank you for showing up for us all the time. Always show up for us. And just a couple of individual shout outs. Need has been longtime partners with the Key School, and we are so grateful for you and all of your teachers there. Miss Cilli, you know that we love you. You are a master educator. When we come to your classroom, it is an honor. And Kia, what you're doing is true community. We just really appreciate all of you so much. I want to thank the incredible Need Indeed team, especially our Associate Director, Janet Chance. She is the heart and the engine behind this event. We can't do it without you. Thank you, FUNCOG, for hosting us, Weaver's Way for providing the dinner for our panelists, and the in-kind baking projects for the snacks that you all will enjoy on your way out. It's not Need Indeed if we don't feed you somehow. And most importantly, thank all of you for spending your evenings with us. You should have received a feedback form when you came in this evening. We would love to hear your thoughts. Please do fill that out. If you would like to stay in contact with Need Indeed, we would be happy to add you to our mailing list. Just see one of us. If you know a 3rd through 8th grade Philadelphia public school teacher who may want to join our network, please grab a flyer on your way out. We are currently accepting folks in for next school year, so we would love to continue to grow our network. Thank you again so much for being here, for believing in young people, and for being a part of this community. Thank you. Have a great evening.
This is really good.